Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here. Last time I was at Nyenrode, I was celebrating my 40th birthday. Today, I will talk about something serious and really important. It's called bicultural. Stop the bus, I said in Turkey when two men entered the bus with long beards. I was so terrified. What was wrong with me? I have a mission in Holland, building about imaging, biculturals. I was so afraid, telling companies and individuals that each person has a uniqueness. What was wrong with me? I was so afraid. That happens with fear. Fear is a deep, common emotion we share. I was so afraid. So that's why how a human brain works. If you read things, if you hear things, we are getting afraid. So pick a situation when you were a child or an adult that you were really afraid and think about it. My statement today is we need biculturals in Europe to make the labor market stronger. And I will tell you the advantages and the disadvantages. So in the end, you can decide what you think and what you want. Because each of you are sitting here, I will address on your leadership. Because I will talk about the multicultural society in Holland, I will talk about diversity, and I will make a link to the refugee crisis. In the early 60s and 70s, a lot of immigrants came to Holland to work because they were invited. Holland needed workers in the shipbuilding, construction, textile industry. So we called them a guest worker. Why? Because we really were thinking that they would go home, but they didn't. And the image is like a typical Dutch guest worker you can see. They worked at forts. And a lot of different kind of people came to Holland from Suriname, Indonesia, all to have an added value in the workforce in Holland. This is my family. I don't know what they were thinking at that time. Let's go to Volendam and have a nice picture. And that's the little girl I am sitting on the lap of my grandfather. My grandfather came to Holland in 1968. And I asked him, why are you in Holland? Why did you ever come to Holland? And he said, I had a shop and I went bankrupt and I heard about the workforce in Holland and that's why I decided to go to Holland. And I wrote a book about it because then I realized how brave those men were. There was no Twitter, no social network, no phone. They just went and worked 6 days a week. 6 days. I mean, those are the entrepreneurs, actually. I've been raised in a so-called multicultural neighborhood in Holland, but I hated it. I found it a really negative, neglected environment. So I decided for myself, when I am an adult, I will never want to live in a multicultural neighborhood. But everything happens with a reason. That's why my passion in life is now about the power of difference, about power of diversity. So this is my family again. But the turning point in my life was when the filmmaker Van Gogh was murdered. He was making a film with the Somali-born Ayaan Hirsi Ali. It was called Submission. He was murdered by a Dutch-Moroccan Muslim. And that time my mission was born. I wrote a letter to our former Prime Minister Balkenende and I said, I want to address you on your leadership, because I felt a deep gap between the minorities and the Dutch people. So I developed a contest. It was called Inspiration for Integration, because I want to do something positive. I want to improve the image. And since then, the power of biculturality was born. And the power of biculturality is about that you see things from different point of perspective. You can connect. And the thing is, the basis is actually the insight in prejudice. We all have prejudice. We all have an opinion. It's really human. Harvard made a test. It's called the implicit association test. It's about the measurement about your preference of your own race or to elder people. More than 4.5 million people made the test, and 80% has a preference over elderly people. So it's really interesting to make the test because it's human to have prejudice and preferences. So the insight in those differences is really important. It's the basis. To accept the differences is so important. So you can acknowledge them and use them. But the most important thing is, if we connect it to the refugee crisis, is how you handle the dilemmas. Because if you have differences, you have dilemmas. A country must handle this. A company must handle this. There are some companies in Holland who really understood the power of biculturality. For example, the butchery Shell. With the rise of the multicultural society, a lot of butchers were disappearing in the neighborhoods. But there was one smart entrepreneur who said, no way, I'm not going to leave. So he hired different people from different cultures. And he's one of the successful entrepreneurs in Holland. You have an elderly care Transvaal in The Hague. Because when you get older, and you have Alzheimer, you speak in your own language, and no one thought about it. This is about the first generation immigrants. So it's a big business. In the food industry, we don't complain about diversity. We love to eat. We love to eat more, and we love to shop more. The groceries are full of quinoa, bulgur, different kind of yogurt. So we love it. But when it comes to a workforce, it's a bit tricky. And the thing is, if you look at Europe, the IT sector, we have a lack of people. In 2020, we have a lack of people of 800,000. We have a lack of people in the healthcare. There is aging in combination with a low birth rate. So in 2050, it is like we have less than 16% of the workforce in Europe. So if we connect that to the refugees, what will happen? Can we choose, instead of fear, to look at the positive things or not? That's the thing. But on the other hand, we have a huge youth unemployment in Europe. It's a fact. 4.5 million young people in the age of 15 to 24 are unemployed. There is tension. There will be tension with a lot of different cultures. We have to deal with dilemmas. And we are afraid. Come on, we all are afraid what's going to happen. It's a fact. It's normal. The thing is, diversity only works with inclusion. If we can say, you are all talented, we will use your talent here in Europe, in Holland. We have to. Otherwise, there will be a problem. And we can use the power of them, of their courage. So my vision about diversity is you have to manage the difference. It's really, really important. Your internal view is so important. It has to be equal to the external view. You have to show leadership. We have to show leadership. That's so important. And we have to deal with dilemmas. But are we able, to think about the refugee crisis today as of fear or as of courage? Because we all say, in their nature, all men are equal. It's their habit that makes the difference. I want to dedicate my speech to the refugees. And today I brought some miniatures, you can see. It's from moving people. I will dedicate them to Nyenrode, but the thing is, you have to spread them around. Take a picture with the hashtag moving people to honor them. So at least we can do is to honor them. Thank you so much, and we will first, the end part is we will watch a movie.
Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth? Why have you come to love, to serve and remember, to love, to serve and